Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't get, and we talk about increasing the buying energy before the sale. When you have unique confidence in what it is that you do, people can see that you have confidence. Oh, I'm just a coach. I'm just a trainer. I'm a mortgage broker. Yeah, it's like, there's no energy there. You don't get up loud and proud and say, I am the person. And it's the energy and relationship that you get with people. And I tell people, it's your personality and passion that produces profits, not perfection.
Hello and welcome to The Leverage Leader. I'm your host, Coach A.M. Williams, and I'm pretty excited today about this show because I have a very dynamic guest and someone that I have really grown fond of and have a relationship with, and just super excited to have him here with me. The gentleman that I'm speaking about, his name is Steve Brossman. And Steve, wow, man, I could spend an entire show just talking about everything Steve has done, but just kind of give you a preface of who we have, the authority that we have in front of us. Steve is actually he is actually a 9 times Amazon bestselling author in marketing and sales. He actually was a former national professional track champion. He has over 20 years of TV and video experience, including hosting his own network TV show, and has been an executive producer for Warner Brothers. So no small fry here. This guy has been named internationally #1 video marketing influencer of the year. He's created 6- and 7-figure multinational businesses of his own, including inventing and marketing and environmental product selling. Like, he's got something he's going to share with you guys today. And when he showed it to me, it was phenomenal. Sold over 4 million units in 26 countries. Can't wait till we get to that, Steve. And he's spoken in over 15 countries and trained over 65,000 entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners to stand out in their marketing. Last year, please forgive me, Steve was actually selected and published with 40 of the world's most innovative marketers. Steve currently helps business owners, sales professionals, and entrepreneurs attract high-quality clients and increase conversion rates on their virtual sales calls without any pushy sales tactics. So today, guys, you have a treat. I want you to make sure that you grab your pen and several pieces of paper, because you're listening to an authority in this space who has a ton of wisdom to share. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Steve Brossman. Steve, a pleasure having you here with me, man.
Mate, I am absolutely excited, and listening to that, I probably should be about 105, but we've crammed a lot into a very, very short period of time, and I'm excited to be with you because I know what we're going to dig into today is not the norm, and I'm excited to share some things that might shake a few things up with your people, and looking forward to jumping straight into it now.
Man, you actually got the hair standing up on my arms right now. I love that kind of talk. So, you know, you are really well accomplished. You have authority in the marketing and sales space. And the one thing I wanted to talk about that this show is actually entitled internal leverage. Another term we're using is psychological leverage. And so what we're really talking about is the role. We're talking about various forms of leverage, and for someone who specializes in marketing and sales, Steve, I believe that having you address this dynamic from the internal, or what I like to call the inner game of it all, the internal psychology of the sales individual, of the business owner, of the company, of the team, the importance of it, and literally what that's all about. So why don't we just start there and lay a strong foundation of internal leverage? What is it?
Well, when we first started talking, and getting together on this, you were looking at how to leverage different things. A lot of people go down the route of how to leverage tech, how to leverage AI, and they're losing the personal note. And us as humans, it's proven that we really only use 10-20% of our brain, and we use much less of our own physical. And if it's okay, I'm going to take a couple of steps back to explain going forward. I was a national professional track champion, but the thing was, I was born with pretty bent legs, bandy, pigeon-toed. My nickname as a kid growing up was Bumblefoot from my family, because I actually did keep tripping over my own feet. But I got into sport. I love sport. I was pretty good at it, with some of the team sports. Joined the athletic club. I was always the third or the fourth kid picked in the relay teams. But coming to the end of high school, I wanted to win. I wanted to leave on a high. I wanted to be the athletic track champion, having never won, never represented the school. And so I went to my dad, and I had a really supportive family. So we got a coach and trained really hard in secret, didn't tell the rest of the kids, and turned up. Hey, I won. I won the 100, 200, 400, graduated to the next level and won regionals, got to state. No fairy tale. I didn't win state, but got to the finals. And my coach said, hey, Steve, you're good enough to keep going. You really should. And I was enjoying it. And then I progressively set goals to get to the next level and the next level. And as I started beating some of the older adults in the track squad and getting to different races, and I kept leveraging and leveraging and leveraging. And within 2 years, because I kept working hard, kept achieving and ticking off each of those goals, I didn't know what I was doing back then, but we've got a framework that I'm going to get to help your people. Within 2 years, I was the youngest ever national professional track champion in Australia. Now, if I'd have set a goal to do that 2 years earlier, there was no way that I would have got there. But each of the progressive goals gave me the momentum, and I call it the slingshot effect, to get on to the next one and the next one. And we were just talking earlier that is a big psychological and physiological boost that most people, most organizations aren't leveraging. Professor Ian H. Robertson, in his study, in his book, The Winning Effect, The Winner's Effect, when we have a win as an animal or a fish in the animal kingdom, which the win would normally have been a kill, there is a surge of testosterone and dopamine in the body that gives you the physiological and psychological strength and confidence to go on to the next goal, the next big kill. And we as humans, and I coach, we need to choreograph wins. If it's personally, I work most of the time by myself, and then I coach and consult, but choreographing a win each day to be able to get that surge of testosterone and dopamine and some of the other happy hormones that I won't go into really does that big effect. And I honestly believe, when we were talking about sales and sales training off camera, and you see the old sales movies, is like, you've got to achieve these goals, and they're totally out of reach. When you don't believe and totally believe in a goal, you don't believe you can do it, you go in with reservation. You might go in 90%, 80%, which means you're not committing fully to it. You're not putting out all of your internal resources to it to be able to get in there and do it. And when you don't have the belief and the commitment, you're not going to get it. The company would have and are going to be happy with the 75% that you actually do get. But guess what that is? You're then perceived internally as a loser. You're not getting those surges. Whereas if there is a target, but you have what I call momentum goals, goals that are believable, achievable, but you've got to put in a great deal of work, then you commit to 100% or more. And then it's the, where do you find the 0.5%? Where do you find the 1% each day that puts you ahead of the curve, that you hit the goal with momentum earlier or bigger, and that gives you the slingshot effect onto the next goal and the next. And most people talk about, I'll get off this in a sec, talk about the climbing, getting to the top of a peak and reaching and striving for that goal. But at the bottom of the mountain, it's wide, it's flatter. You can have all your team around you. But as you're getting closer and closer to the top, it's steeper. There's only room for 1 or 2 people, and it's harder to get to that peak goal. Whereas I liken it to standing at the top of the hill and starting a snowball. You're by yourself, you've got an idea, you've got a concept. You start the ball rolling, it gathers momentum and it gets bigger. Other people join in, it picks up speed. It gets more momentum and more people join in and it picks up more speed. So much so that you've got momentum and people around you that you smash through the obstacles. You're on your way, and that's leveraging you. It's leveraging those around you, and you hit the bottom with so much momentum and force that you're going up the other side towards another goal. And that to me is the internal leverage. And it was when I wrote one of my books called Exceed that I actually realized that there was a system that I personally used from a kid with bent legs to achieve some pretty okay things, that they were the steps that helped me leverage what I had. And I was a track coach, and I looked around and there was many champions out there that had better internal abilities, but they weren't leveraging them. What I've been able to do in my life was be able to leverage more of what I had, not that I started with more than anybody else.
This is significant because two things that I find to be very important as it pertains to sales. And you just brought something back to my remembrance. It's the importance of reinforcing success. Like we are set a goal. We'll set these big, hairy, audacious goals to do things. I'm going to make $1 million this year. I'm going to do, I'm going to make 10 million. I'm going to take it. And there's nothing wrong with the goal, but you made such a very important point. And that is, if you don't have the belief, now here's where a lot of people get twisted, because they think that belief is intellectual agreement. Intellectual agreement is not belief. If you don't have it, in you, the internal leverage, the psychological leverage, the belief that that you can do this thing. If you don't have total buy-in internally to get that done, chances are you're going to fall short, and significantly short, from what you want to achieve, which, to your point, puts on the label. Now you're seeing yourself as a failure or a loser, and these things. But I love the concept of starting from the top and snowballing. And that speaks to the dynamic of reinforcing success. And by taking, I have a mentor, he said, listen, whatever it is that you say you're going to work on, be 100% sure that that's the thing you're going to do. And most people say, well, that's easy. I'm not going to set that as a target. No, I want to set something that's going to be huge that I don't think I can do. And that's where the flaw is, because if you pick something that you're going to show up and do every day, if you pick something that that you can achieve that, to your point, what I'm hearing is you can achieve that thing and reinforce the success of that thing to ultimately begin to create a snowball of bigger things that you want to be able to accomplish. Am I hearing what you're saying the right way?
Mate, absolutely perfect. And sharing with your people that each year, I never set New Year's resolutions. I always do a review, but I also set 3 words that I'm to live by and are to be the focus of what I want to achieve that year. And there's 2 parts to this. The first, and I shared before we got on, the 3 words that I had for this year was belief, grow, and leverage. Now, 2021 January, I set a goal of really transferring and growing my business in North America. Yeah, I was doing well in Australia, but it wasn't where I wanted it to be. But I had to have the belief of me being, a reasonable fish in a small pond in Australia, to growing from a minnow up to what I needed to be in the North American market. So I had to have the belief that I could do it. And it was pretty scary to start with. Let me tell you, it's not, hey, I'm here. That just didn't work and doesn't work. But I had the belief that I could do it. And the grow was not just grow my business. And every time I set a goal and a target, the next thing that I do is, who do I have to become to achieve it? Not what are the tactics, not what is my business. Who do I have to personally become? What have I got to do to step up to do that? So I had to have the belief. I had to work out who I had to become, more of me, and then leverage. Well, the only way for me, I believe, to grow in any business is leverage. Work with other people, good people like yourself, to be able to leverage the knowledge, the connections, to be able to grow the business. And that's the big thing that that you do, is like, well, do I believe I can actually do this? And I work at two different levels. One is at the high level business corporate level with them and their business. But the other one is a great passion of mine as well, is working with the probably the solopreneurs, the passion-driven professionals, because they really hate selling. They're great at what they do. They love serving, but they believe that selling is something different. And I wrote the Back Pocket Guide, How to Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul. And I've actually created a framework that is more on collaboration and agreed implementable value than selling the box value, the value of the stuff that they do. And once they realize that selling comes from a place of serving, and they've got a framework to work with their people on, and a collaborative framework, it becomes a process that they actually enjoy. Not, I'm going to tell everybody about, and then I've got to get to that dreaded bit of selling. I'm not a salesperson. I don't believe I could sell. That's the internal belief that I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to be known as a salesperson. Don't you dare call me a salesperson. And it's something that I went through for 7 years. I was helping people with authority marketing. But for 7 years, my people kept saying, Steve, this is the best sales training ever. Don't you dare call me a sales trainer. I don't want to be known as a sales trainer. How dare you call me a sales trainer? Because I didn't want to be one of those, slick back, mustache, greasy hair, all of those sorts of things. I didn't want to be those guys. However, I realized that there was something special there that's flipped the switch with people, that gave them the belief that they could actually take people through a process and collaborate with them. And in the end, it was a very simple collaborate and confirm versus present and pitch. And once I accepted that that was a good sales process, and hell, I can actually help people with selling, I came out of the closet, so to speak, and said, look, here it is. I accept, I believe that I can help people, but it had to start with the internal belief. And then that allowed me to leverage more of what was in there to help more people. And that was a big shift that, when people go through the process that I teach them, I've gone through it before. I didn't believe that I was that person. I didn't want to be that person. But when I flipped the switch and believed that I could, that's when the ability to leverage more internally came out.
So what I'm hearing right out of the gate, number one, it's all about belief. It's all about belief in self. And then through that, what you gain is the ability to leverage more of yourself in that process. So in that, at that point, when you realize you gain that belief, and now you start to realize you can leverage yourself more, I think the piece, this is where a lot of people get stuck. This is where a lot of people, it starts getting really foggy and gray right in this area, because we're talking about, okay, leveraging themselves more. So I know when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about the different dynamics, the different dimensions of themselves that a person can leverage about themselves to acquire things like partnerships, build teams, create dynamic offers for people of that nature. What would you have to share about that?
The first thing is go back to them. What is it and who are they? And when I'm working with my people, and I got to say, when you move from an A to a V, your life changes. When you move from a coach, a consultant, an advisor, an accountant, a something, if you're an A, it's what I call the brown box. And the brown box syndrome is people that are really good, but wrap themselves in a brown box that seems the same as everybody else. They look and feel and taste the same as everybody else. They're sitting on the shelf the same as everybody else, but there's gold inside. So it's a matter of, what is it that I do differently, and how can I communicate that I am the authority of what's inside? Everybody's different. Somewhere along the line, we've either learned something different, we do things differently, we've got different experience. Not everybody does exactly the same thing, exactly the same. You could do it similar, but when you communicate it differently, other people will see you as being different. So if you are just a coach and you believe that you are just a coach, consultant, trainer, advisor, or whatever, then, and here's the great example. Picture yourself Christmas morning, you get up, all of these bright colored boxes are under the tree and one brown box. Which presents are open first? The brightly colored ones.
All the bright.
Two reasons. Most people don't get the second one. Two reasons is nothing really exciting ever comes in a brown box. But the second reason is the person who put it under the tree didn't value it enough to wrap it. So when you are a coach, consultant, a trainer, and this, people in the marketplace believe that you haven't valued you enough to try and wrap yourself and be positioned as being different or highlight your unique authority positioning. So when you move from an A to a V, other people will see you differently. You will see yourself differently, and you'll be able to communicate at a different level and be able to collaborate on it. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't get, and we talk about increasing the buying energy before the sale. When you have unique confidence in what it is that you do, people can see that you have confidence. Oh, I'm just a coach. I'm just a trainer. I'm a mortgage broker. Yeah, it's like, there's no energy there. You don't get up loud and proud and say, I am the person. And it's the energy and relationship that you get with people. And I tell people, it's your personality and passion that produces profits, not perfection. It's, you know, if you have total belief in what you do, yeah. In my video coaching with people, we go through a whole process, and then I get them to say, now shoot a quick video, no scripts, of just about something you're passionate about your child, your sport, your holiday, just do it. And they just rattle off, and they can see the sparkle in their eyes, and they can do it and say, now look at that. You can present, you can communicate and connect. Now go back and put all the other stuff that I taught you into this video. And when people see that you have absolute belief and passion with what you do, there is an energy about you that attracts people to you. So many times, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but so many times I go to different networking, virtual networking events, and I've got a business partnership that took 6 weeks only to formulate, just because somebody said, Steve, I love your energy. We have to talk.
Wow.
That was it. They said, I love your energy. We've got to talk. I love what you said. And we've got a great synergy. We've got awesome leverage of each other's businesses and partnerships. But it started because when I get into these rooms, breakouts, communicate with people, I've got total commitment and belief And I guess that transfers in the energy and the passion that comes through, or it might have been 10 years in kids TV, one or the other, that I'm there, and there is something that if we got together and communicated and worked it out, that we could really create something special. That's the belief that I personally have, but I had to get over myself to do that. And that's what people need to do. What is it that's down inside of you that you passionately know, and then package and communicate it? That's important. So other people see it as well, and they think, I've got to talk to you. I've got to work with you.
I believe, you're making a strong point, because especially in the world of sales, we see this far too much. People rely so much on tactics. You need to do this, and you need to have this close, and you need to focus on this, and they got 1,000 closes on things, and they have to be really, really sharp on how they, do, or crafty about how they attempt to create value or communicate their value with other people. And one of the things that I really grasp about you, Steve, I absolutely love this about you. You're talking about the things that really make selling easy. Because if you do these things, if you have the belief, okay, and then you move from being a coach to being the coach, now you have the certainty that you need to communicate to people to say, you know what, this is why I'm the guy to help you. I'm not a guy to help you. I am the guy to help you. And then being able to package it in a way. And again, a lot of gray around this. Now, here's what's interesting, because there are some people that say, I don't like to sell at all. And then you have these guys that have found a way to, like, you know what, I am really great at selling. And so because they're so confident in their ability to sell, they believe they can sell themselves out of anything, and sell themselves out of, and so what, now they're moving into a different level, and they're trying to figure out, why is this not working for me? Like, why is this continuing? Like, why am I having this resistance? I've done this, and I've made sales this way all my life. Why at this level is it not working for me? So we got this one side where there is no confidence in the ability to sell, but rather than establishing the right balance, people tend to go to the complete other side of the polarity, and say, oh, they're overconfident. Oh, I can sell myself. I can sell this. I can sell ice to the Eskimos. I can sell hot water in hell. And it doesn't matter how tough things get in their company. They just tell themselves, I can sell myself out of anything. To that, what would you have to say?
Look, mate, if I was taking notes, there's 10 points in there that I could cover right now, but I'm going to take you through a story of one of the people that I worked with. And he said, Steve, yeah, I go to networking events and nobody wants to talk to me. And he was an insurance broker. I thought, well, that's easy to understand. You're an insurance broker. Nobody wants to talk to you. Of course, you're going to sell to them. He said, yeah, but I really want to help people. And look, I want to work with people that are underprotected, and I want to protect their lifestyle in case something happens. I said, you're not an insurance broker. You're a lifestyle protection specialist. And he went from an insurance broker to the lifestyle protection specialist. So he now gets up in his networking events and etc. and says, I'm a lifestyle protection specialist. I help protect the people, their families, their possessions, and their loved ones in the event of unforeseen circumstance. He said, Steve, every time 2, 3 people come and talk to me. But he also got up with pride and with confidence and with passion, because he wasn't selling insurance. He was selling the protection of people's lives, which he did with a passion, and people could see and feel that. And they gravitated towards him and say, wow, that is fantastic and interesting. Tell me more. So the minute the people break out of a brown box, which they may not be that proud of, to start positioning and packaging the outcomes that they're passionate about delivering, Sales becomes a different thing. And my definition of selling is professionally servicing other people's needs for a mutually beneficial gain. And if you believe that you've got something and can help people, it's your right, duty, and obligation to be able to package it and put it to them in a way that they must buy and must work with you. Now, the process that I take people through is to give them a framework. Yep, there are some scripts and there are some processes that they could use, but allows them to be more of themselves within that and to collaborate and work towards what is the agreed implementable value. When we work together, this is what's going to happen and what you will get, instead of here is how I work. Here's the number of hours that I'm going to consult to you. Here's the nuts and bolts of all the different tech you're going to get. That's irrelevant. It's what do I walk away with from working with you? And it takes me back, and I tell people all the time that I was in the fitness industry when a group of exercise programs came out. They were pre-choreographed, which means you do this routine to this music. And the first one was an exercise program with a barbell, weights, etc. It was called Pump. And all of the instructors were saying, how dare they tell us what to do, when to do it? We're going to become robots. But I looked at it the other way. It's like, when I don't have to worry about thinking what I have to do on the next move, thinking about making up the choreography as I go, I can be more of myself. And when the framework was there, I knew what was coming next. I had the absolute freedom to just joke, laugh, connect, communicate, because I didn't have to think on the spot. And a lot of the people I work with say, Steve, this framework is great. I know exactly where to go, what to do, and I can just work with the people, collaborate and create a solution, and I can be more of myself. I don't have to think about what script do I have to use here. And a lot of the people that hate selling, the sales trainers will come in and say, I can help you sell yourself better, but I hate selling myself. No, but I can give you all the tips, and the strategies on how to overcome objections and sell yourself better. But I hate selling myself. They didn't get the obstacle. The elephant in the room was they hated selling themselves. But when we work with them, create the framework and the blueprint, the system, they're selling that, not themselves, life changes. It's like somebody coming and say, hey, I'm going to give you a jump out of an airplane for your birthday, but I don't want to jump out of an airplane. But you're going to have the absolute best instructor, and they're going to teach you how to jump out of an airplane. But I don't want to jump out of an airplane. But you're going to get the best parachute. You're going to get all of these fantastic things to jump out of an airplane, but you don't get it. I don't want to jump out of an airplane. And that's what I see a lot of sales trainers now are trying to teach the people who don't want to do this thing, trying to teach them how to be better at doing it. And it all falls apart because they haven't addressed that they don't want to sell themselves. It's like I work with SaaS organizations and they still think that they sell software. Instead of creating what is the unique outcomes where you can collaborate with a person and agree on the implementable value of those outcomes and turn it around and create something very special for the person. And it is not the software. Nobody wants to buy the software. They want to buy what the software does. And when people get that and focus on the collaboration of what this will do for you, not this is what it does, the sales process just changes. And the belief in the person goes through the roof.
Significantly. I absolutely love that. Now, Steve, I got to get to this because a lot of people, they're going to, we talked about this before, but this is so powerful. We have to be able to address it. And we were talking about value creation. We're talking about that now. And you talk about you sharing ways that we can help coaches and consultants with this. But now what I want to deal with is showing people value creation from a product standpoint. And you probably already know where I'm going with this, but I believe creating value begins with the ability to discern opportunities. And you and I, in our last conversation we had a week or so ago, we talked about something that you invented that became wildly successful. And I'd love for you to share what you can about that particular piece with our audience today.
It's a brilliant marketing lesson that when I go back and I started writing different books about the different things that I had done, realized that I had done it over and over again. And it all happened 2000, and indoor smoking bans were becoming very prevalent, and nobody knew what was going to happen. Well, they should have. Well, if you can't smoke inside, they're going to go outside, and where are the cigarette butts going to go? And I'm a passionate environmentalist, and one day I saw a girl throw a cigarette butt out of her car right in front of me in my neighborhood. I always wanted to pick it up and throw it inside. I was like, and how dare you? I never ever did that. But I looked at her and she was wearing a nylon dress or something like that. And I thought, well, you're going to go up in flames and I'm going to go to jail. That's not going to happen. And the reticular activators kicked in. I saw butts everywhere. I said to my mate, we've got to do something about this. Butts everywhere. And he said, yeah. And I keep thinking about it. And I thought, well, a couple of days later, I thought, well, people should carry personal ashtrays. So I said to him on an next coffee, I said, mate, I think I've invented the solution, personal ashtrays. And he was actually in the industry and I didn't know. And he said, well, they've been around for years. Go and have a look. And like there was about 10 or 12 different sets of personal ashtrays. And I thought, oh, why aren't people using them? And then my crazy thought process at 2 o'clock one morning woke up, but, human butt, bottom, buttocks, cigarette butt. What if we put a bum on a personal ashtray? And for those who can't see this and they're actually listening to the podcast, it's like a Tic Tac packet, a little bit bigger, but it's in the shape of a human bum. It's a flip top, and you put up to 10 cigarettes in there, fire resistant. So I invented what was called the Butts Out personal ashtray. Instead of selling the pieces, we sold the programs. The people who had the problem were not the smokers. Generally, they didn't give a damn. But it was the councils, it was the corporates, it was all of the people whose property the butts were littered onto. So we didn't try and sell personal ashtrays. We sold cigarette butt litter reduction campaigns. We got together and put some campaigns. We put solutions together. And on our first trip, it was a long drive. I said to my business partner in this, well, what if we put campaigns together and sell this? So he was on his laptop creating them. And we thought we might have sold a couple of hundred. But we started with, this campaign has 500, this campaign has this, there's t-shirts, there's all these different things that's going to help you reduce cigarette butt litter. And they bought 10 times. They bought 2,000 in a campaign. We sold a solution that had an agreed implementable value, which means there's going to be exposure, there's going to be the tools, there's going to be all of those sorts of things. And out of the 4 million that we sold, I could guarantee that we sold less than a couple of 100,000 direct to the smokers, but we sold nearly 4 million to people who wanted the solution. There was already 12 on the market. Within 12 months, we were the one that had the name, the brand, the solution. We won environmental awards in the UK and all over the place. We personally became known as global authorities on reducing cigarette butt litter. We weren't the most qualified or the world's #1 environmentalist. We weren't the top of that sort of environmental tree, but we were the ones that created a unique solution. And this is a lesson for people to believe. You don't have to have all the qualifications. You just need to be an authority on what you did. We were an authority on creating cigarette butt litter reduction solutions that worked, particularly because they engaged with the butts out. All the taglines were, don't let the ranger see your butt. Is your butt worth $200? It was the ability to engage, but it was a quick rise to global leaders being unique. We broke out of the brown box because we were unique, and we took something to the market that solved and solved a problem. And that's what we sold. And it's still a great marketing lesson on sell the program, not the pieces. Sell the payoff, not the pieces.
Sell the payoff, not the pieces. All day. You know, Steve, there's so much treasure in that piece. But again, even in what you were sharing, you can see, as one can easily see, like how that went back to the internal leverage. How did that go back to the psychological leverage? Like to even say, okay, what can I use within myself? How do I position myself? It all goes back to belief in the yourself, belief in the need for it, and you pursued it, and look at what it turned into. I love that for a couple of reasons. Number one, it just shows the power of being able to create. Some people might say, oh man, that guy's lucky. What they don't really understand is, like, we talked about all the things that you know, and that's just stuff on your speaker's bio. That's just accomplishments that you've achieved. But there's the common thread between it all has to deal with, you know, what you believed about yourself and what you were able to accomplish. And you didn't just succeed in one particular field, but you were able to leverage what you did and became very successful in several different industries. But as I just said, it is all comes back to this common factor. And what I'm seeing in it is the dynamic of internal leverage. What do you share about? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it brought back a couple of memories that to set up plastic tooling, injection molding, particularly when we did it first in Australia, it's not cheap. It was over 100 grand we had to commit. Now, committing $100,000 to making plastic bums, yeah, a lot of people said, yeah, we're crazy. Well, we probably were, but we had absolute belief that we were going to do it. And then with 7 slides, passion, and a 30-minute presentation, we got people on board to work with us. So we bit the bullet, we committed the 100K, and we did a presentation, and we got people on board, and they worked with us. When I was a track athlete, I was training for the Olympics. I crushed 3 discs in my back, game over. Through rehab, I fell in love with the fitness industry, thought I could do it, went to set up a health club, didn't have the money to do it. I worked with my parents, mortgaged their house. I had belief, they had belief. You know, I'm glad it worked out. Otherwise, everybody would have been on the street, but it was the belief and passion to be able to do it. So I wasn't born with, all of this money sitting somewhere to be able to do what I did. The minute that we put the butts out on the table, I had at least 4 people say to me, yeah, I was going to do something like that. Yeah, I had an idea, something like that. I was going to do something like that. Well, there's a lot of I was gunners on the sideline. I love the Michael Jordan saying, just elevate, decide in the air. When you have total belief commitment that is backed on a bit of education and not just whimsical, the people, my business partner in this, he was well into the industry. He knew the size of it. He knew the capabilities. I was the crazy inventor and marketing and sales guy. And we had total belief. We committed to it. So the thing is, you can't make a slam dunk half committing to the jump. You can't. It's all in or all out. But once you have the total belief, just push the button. Go for it.
That's just super important. I mean, that's a mic drop moment right there, Steve. That is beautiful. I love what you said about the quote from Mike. Just elevate and decide in the air. And what as a breakthrough performance, not the breakthrough performance coach and strategist, my passion is really showing people how to excel through the power of leverage and exceed their wildest expectations. So, in looking at that and seeing just how the power of leverage has truly, indeed, impacted your success and the multiple things that you have done. I have to give you the crown. You are indeed the leverage. You are one of the premier leverage leaders. So we give it to you, my friend. You are one of the, you come into the family of the leverage leaders. So we give that to you. So Steve, tell the audience how they can get in touch with you. How can they take advantage? Because the program that you're talking about is extremely significant. I don't want to pull anything away from it. What I do want to say is that people they've heard enough to where they like, okay, tell me more. Where can I go get this? Where can I pick this up? How can I register to get into the next program you're offering?
Yeah, look, there's a variety of ways I work, but I'm pretty standard, pretty old fashioned. My name will be, and everything will be in the show notes. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you do connect with me on LinkedIn, just make sure that you say, we heard it here. I love what you're saying, and we'll just have a really good chat. The other thing is just email me, steve@stevebrosman.com. And that's the easiest way. And just say, hey, Steve, heard the podcast with the legend, the man, the coach himself. And would love to find out more. And the best thing is we just jump on a call and see what we can create. We can create some things that are really special. If somebody comes with true belief that they've got, and particularly if they come from your listening audience, then they're ready to leverage and work, and we can create something, or just have a chat, create some insights, and they can walk away with a little bit of inspiration and insights and go back to their life. So every conversation is not going to be a sales conversation, and I learn as much from other people on what they're doing as I do when I'm giving with them. So that's the biggest thing. And if you do connect with me, particularly on LinkedIn, then you will be able to, what I would normally do is send you one of my back pocket guides. Probably now it's the art and science of virtual selling, or how to sell yourself without selling your soul. And you can just get a taste of some inspiration and some practical things that can help your business. So grab me on LinkedIn, send me an email.
We'll make that easy too, Steve, by putting some of that in the show notes, a link for them to quickly access that. And make sure you guys get connected with Steve. You've been given access. So you got to decide, impact or excuse. You can't do both. All right. So Steve, so glad to have you here with us today on the Leverage Leader. And you already know, I'm going to want to have you back. We're going to do a ton of things together. So just, you stay connected to this. You're going to see Steve come up many, many, many more times. Things that we're doing together. So I'm super excited about that. A pleasure having you on the show, and we are definitely looking forward to having you come back and visit us. And, also too, guys, let me say this before I sign off with that. Go to Amazon and pick up all of Steve's books. Pick up all of them. Exceed. I'm reading that one right now. And I listen, pick up everything Steve has, because his stuff is amazing. His material is amazing. And this is a guy that is doing it at a very, very, very high level. So make sure that you connect with Steve, connect with him on Amazon as well, pick up his material. You'll probably get more out of his reading material than you would going to an Ivy League school on marketing and sales. So please make sure you connect with Steve.
Can I jump in on that one, Coach?
Because
I do things differently. I've put some of my earlier books up on there. I put some of my books up on there just to become bestsellers. But if they connect with me, and what I've found is I've done, I think you said 7 or 8 or 9, some of them collaboration books. What I do now with my latest material are back pocket guides instead of a long read. I do appreciate people are time poor. So I do 40-minute reads that have got some videos and some training in there. Go to Amazon and you'll get some good stuff, but connect with me and I can give you the more direct and more latest stuff that they can consume in a very short, more powerful time, instead of getting lost on Amazon. So all the other stuff is on there, but the most recent, the more powerful, I find I can impact people in a 30-40-minute read. And just connect with me and I'll get you the right stuff at the right time for you. And that would be much, much better value for you.
Well, we'll definitely make sure, Steve, that we get that link, make sure they got ease of access to getting it, put it in the show notes so they can quickly grab that. I love that concept. I think it is very powerful, especially today. Sometimes it's not having to read everything, it's about reading what we need at the moment, getting what we need in the moment to help us to be able to move forward. And your programs, your back pocket guys are going to help people to do that tremendously. All right, guys, that's all for this week on The Leverage Leader. Steve, it's been an amazing show. You have truly indeed added significant value to what we're doing here. And we're so glad to have you here, to have you indoctrinated into the legion of leverage leaders. You are truly indeed a part of the Leverage Leader family now and for always, my friend. Guys, until the next time, remember, something in your life can be leveraged to create something you want. God bless and have a wonderful day.